All right, here we are. Sammie Henson. Thank you so much for doing this. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it, brother.
no problem.
How are you doing today?
Doing good.
Good, good. So, I saw you in the gym this morning getting after it already. Um, you always start your mornings pretty early getting after it like that?
Every morning for probably the last, my oldest son's 19, so probably last 12 years. It's one of those things where I could spend time with my kids before school.
Yeah.
They probably don't like it, but my two older boys and my daughter, my oldest daughter, we've always went in and worked out. But today it was just me and my son, my
Yeah.
younger son.
Yeah. So, you may not like it right now, but when you get that hand raised,
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you love it.
Yeah, we it was good for me. It's nice to be able to still be able to wrestle at this age with my boys, and I don't think I'm ever gonna regret that. It's gonna be a memory I'll have.
100%, man. And dude, you look great. How old are you?
I'm 48. Yeah,
48,
it's
dude.
January 1st.
Yeah, man, you're in there with your shirt off. You're in there wrestling with your son this morning. Dude, you look jacked. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So you just never stop moving.
No,
Never stop moving. So for the folks listening, I mean, you have such an amazing wrestling pedigree. You've been all over the world. You've done so many things. But would you just mind for me just a quick little rundown of like your background? Like, how did you get into wrestling? Like, what is the start for you?
my brothers. I had 10 brothers and sisters, and my two older brothers. I have three older brothers, but two older brothers wrestled, and they started wrestling. We played football,
Okay.
baseball, all. We were an athletic family. Yeah. So anyway, they started doing it, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. They had to wear those. I'm not. And then,
It's tight
yeah,
clothes
yeah, I'm
and
not doing that. And then they were like, Chuck's doing it. I'm like, oh, I'll do it then. And then I did it, and it just took to it right away.
yeah.
Uh, Amazing feeling, just one-on-one things that you can't describe.
Right. How old were you at this time?
8.
You were 8 when you started wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So you're already doing some other sports. Your older
Yep.
brother was in it,
Yep.
and you're like,
Baseball and football. I loved it.
okay. Did you do those sports also through high
No,
school?
I did them up to 8th grade, and I decided to commit to wrestling
And you
because I
focus.
wanted to win.
I think that's important
Yeah.
to really focus. So I was talking to Justin Bricker this morning about that at the gym. We were talking about when you get to high school, like do you downgrade your sports and just focus on one? Is that I mean, if you want to be successful and you want to be the absolute best, is that what you have to do?
I think you do. It depends on the athlete. Wyatt, my oldest son, I mean my youngest son, was working out today with. He played football as a freshman at Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. Unbelievable athlete, but he's really he wants to be world champ. So this year he's committed to wrestling full time. So
Okay.
I think you're going to see a transition for him.
Yeah.
He's going to make it as far as he can make it. We'll see what happens.
So what's it take to be a world champion? Like what kind of commitment does that take?
Huge amount of commitment. And it takes a lot of people to helping you. The right people. We were talking about that earlier, me and you.
Mm.
Surround yourself with, you hear that a lot, but surround yourself with good people and good things will happen.
Yeah.
And I believe your work ethic. You have to have a great work ethic. It has to be an inner drive that comes from somewhere where I felt like I was born with it. I felt like at the beginning nobody had to tell me to work hard. Nobody had
Yeah.
to tell me to do anything. I wanted to be great
Yeah.
at something. I didn't know what when I was young, but I knew I wanted to be great
You
now.
just knew you wanted to have greatness.
Yeah, whatever that is to you, right?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think your people you're surrounded with, and it makes the difference in who you become.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the people you surround yourself with, I mean, that energy, like you feed off of that, and it will either hinder your growth or it'll help accelerate it.
Yeah,
100%. So, I mean, if you're hanging around with losers, you're going to be a loser.
I agree. I think you, if you are, say, hey, we're gonna have to go a different direction. We're not headed in the same direction, right? And
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
nothing
There's
wrong with that.
You can give them a hug and wish
Yeah,
them well, but I think if people aren't headed the same direction you want to be, then you need to cut ties.
yeah, 100%. I mean, you just have to cut the cancer out of your life if
Yeah,
it's not helping you, it's hurting you.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what were some of your like examples growing up of greatness? Like, what was that for you? Do you remember anything like early on? I know a lot of kids have, heroes like they look up to a sports figure, or maybe it's like your parent who just like worked super hard. Like, what was that for you that kind of drove you and you kind of strive to be?
My brother Chuck was my hero, and when I was young,
Yeah.
he kind of almost abusive relationship.
Like all big brothers.
Yeah, he used to be, he would go down and, we'd get in the basement, and I mean, he would do things that probably shouldn't be done, and probably, and my dad would walk down and be like, "Oh no," and go back upstairs. He'd leave us alone,
Oh
But
yeah.
this dude,
Let you guys work it out.
yeah, and we used to play basketball together. We would play basketball a lot, and just all these things. He used to drop me off. I remember one time in Thanksgiving, he dropped me off. He put some clothes on me and took me out down. I mean, I put my. He took me out and like 5 miles away from home, and it was like snow, and I had boots on, and
Yeah.
I had to find my way home. So,
He left you.
yeah, left me. He said this is good for my mental training, and I never forget that. It took me all day. I mean, I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't know. I think it was Upper Bottom Road, and I was like,
There's some truth to that,
Yeah.
though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you kind of, it's super unsafe.
yeah, and nowadays it wouldn't work. But no, he just motivated me to be the best I could be.
Yeah.
And I strive for acceptance, and a lot of it came from my upbringing with, I had 10 brothers and sisters, so I didn't come from a.
You had 10 brothers and sisters
Yeah.
total, so you're one of 11.
I'm the 10th.
You're the 10th. Okay.
Yeah, we're like the Brady Bunch, though. But we all lived together at one time.
Oh,
And,
man.
I was youngest, so just being a part of that, and not understanding the part that I wanted to prove everyone that you can do it from where I came from, and I wanted to prove everyone that, hey, I had something inside me that was different than a lot of people,
Yeah.
and it was the inner strength I had. You were talking about growing up with idols. I know this is crazy, but I remember watching the Olympics in 1976, and Nadia Comaneci. I mean, that's what motivated me. When I saw her win.
Who is that? I'm sorry, I'm not
She's an
familiar.
Olympic champ from Romania in
Okay.
gymnastics.
In gymnastics.
And she
Okay.
got a perfect 10. She first won and it was amazing. And when I saw that, I was like, I want to be like,
Yeah.
not gymnastics, but
Right.
I want that.
That glory.
And it was unbelievable just to watch her and how perfect she was in that moment. Because
Yeah.
we all strive to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling you about my philosophy: consistency wins. And what I believe is, you strive to be as perfect as you can and have that perfect moment. And that's what I'm looking for. We're always continue to look for that perfect moment.
Yeah.
What is that perfect moment to you? And that's
100%.
awesome.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I'm sure I've seen something about her on like ESPN or
Yeah.
something. I mean, a perfect 10. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine just like the fucking feeling of just like electricity. Well, I mean, I've experienced just some super highs just with like competition in MMA, right? Like,
for
I mean,
sure.
whenever you train for so long and you put like everything into it, like people don't realize that it's like it's early mornings, like you're running in the morning, and then like you're lifting, and then you're trying. You for me, like I had to go to work during the day, and then like I'd get off, and then I'm training for like 3 hours or 4 hours at night.
Yeah.
And then like you're trying to get your recovery, but then you have all these different skills. You have wrestling, you have jiu-jitsu, you have striking, you have MMA that you have to do. So you put every fucking thing that you have for like 3 months. Like for when you're a kid, like that's a whole season.
Right. Yeah.
But whenever you're like a high level athlete, that's just training camp.
Yeah.
That's just intense training for like one moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then like it's everything or nothing. Like you just gave everything for this moment right here, and then like I realized like I thought I was an adrenaline junkie, but I'm a flow junkie. I love having the stakes high. I love having prepared and putting everything into it, and then like like when you're in there and then everything's just fucking fluid, man.
Yeah.
Like you're not even thinking. It's just everything's working, and then you're done. You're just like this intense, just fucking just rush of just emotion, and you're just on this high,
Yeah.
and then you're down, but then you're just always chasing that next I want to get into flow state again, so then I can just perform like none other. And then you have that amazing feeling afterwards.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I love it.
Yeah, I love it, man. So, so Chuck was like one of your biggest motivators growing up.
Yeah.
So in high school, you were you a 3-timer or 4-timer?
3-timer. I lost my freshman year.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
That's winners never do, man.
No,
It still burns
yeah,
a hole in your ass,
actually,
doesn't it?
that's the.
Isn't that so weird? I think about that. I had a loss in high school. I mean, I never wrestled to your degree by any stretch, but a really good wrestler, his name's Duran Wynn.
Yeah, I know Duran.
Yeah, still one of the best. Yeah, dude, like as I was a senior, he was a junior. He was
Yeah.
one, I was two. We met in the semis, dude. He beat me in the semis, and I'm still like, it still burns my. Even though I know how good of a wrestler he
Yeah.
is, it
Yeah.
still burns my fucking ass.
Yeah. Yeah. I was winning with 5 seconds left, and they were breaking action, and I don't, I never blame my coach, but Coach Hodap. Anyway, he told me to go after him, and I'm like, I should have.
It's
Anyway,
kind of
I got thrown and I'll never
oh,
forget. And I lost. I think I was winning by 3, maybe, and I got thrown in my back and lost with like 5 seconds left. So, and then I end up taking fourth. But yeah, I'll never forget it. I was, I had to eat to make it was 98, and you had a minimum of 93, I think, pounds you had to weigh.
okay.
So I had to eat like a heavyweight to make 90. I was really, really little, man. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was strong, but I was, short,
Yeah.
and then I hit a amazing growth spurt.
I say
No, I'm joking.
a lot of your teammates were not too happy with you at that time.
No,
You're sitting
no.
there eating, drinking.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're
I
cutting
hung
weight.
out with the heavyweight. It was awesome.
The littlest guy and the biggest guy.
Yeah.
So from high school, so you had amazing career, 3-timer. You went to Mizzou.
Yeah.
So why'd you go to Mizzou for a year?
I went to Mizzou for actually I went there 3. I redshirted my first year.
Okay.
And then I my second year I won. I was Big 12 champ or Big 8 champ at the time, and
Right.
then All American. And then I left there. I had some issues off the mat, and it didn't work out for me. And so I stayed a whole year and did nothing but train Greco.
Oh.
And I went to see Gary Mayhab. I don't know if you know Coach Mayhab, but
Mhm.
he basically that year off I couldn't train in the wrestling room and stuff, so I would drive down and spend the weekend with him and
Okay.
train, and then and then I would drive. I would fly to I'd take a couple weeks off, even though I was in school, miss class at Mizzou, and I would get my homework. I talked to all my professors and
Yeah.
stuff, told them what I was doing, and I would go to the Olympic training camp, or
Nice.
so it was really. It was really a cool event for me, but I remember my freshman year, I made the semifinals in the national tournament, and I lost to Chad Zapital, and this first time I've ever been taken from my feet to my back. I mean, I've always been stronger than everyone I wrestled, and this guy, I'll never forget it. And I lost 13-2 to him in Iowa, in Carver Hawkeye Arena, and in the semis. And I'm like, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna win it. Well, I
Yeah.
didn't believe I could. Back then, you were just All American. It was great. Wasn't already, or if you made the semifinals, I was already an All American. Well, anyway, long story short, I lost him, and I never forgot that. And I took that year off and trained,
Yeah.
and then I transferred to Clemson, and everything I did was for Chad Zeppelin, everything. And he took second to Prescott. I lost him in the semis twice. So Prescott had beaten him the year before, and then my freshman year. And so my sophomore year, I lost a year. I didn't get to wrestle. I just lost it. And then I went to Clemson, and I mean, every moment, every second of my day revolved around Chad Zapital. That's all I thought about.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, just every sprint, I'd go in the wrestling room and just visualize, how the match would go. And we end up wrestling each other in the finals of the NCAAs, and I remember seeing, icon Dan Gable slapping him in the face, like trying to, intimidate me and motivate him.
Yeah.
And I just stared at Dan Gable like, I'm wrestling you, buddy.
It's like, all right, motherfucker.
I'm ready to go. You don't try and intimidate me, man. And one thing I changed, I remember this, in Mizzou back then, not now, but back then, we lifted in the summer, but during the year we stopped lifting. And I just think, as you cut weight and you go through the year, if you're not maintaining that,
You're
you
losing.
want to be at least where you started, right? Especially when you're in wrestling season, you might not be able to grow, but you stay.
Yeah.
So at Clemson, I lifted the whole time, and I just stayed in, and I ended up going from 13-2, having a year off, to beating him in the finals in the NCAAs 3-1.
Oh, nice.
And then I guess, it was his third time taking second. So, but everybody's like, oh, I feel bad for him. I don't. I felt bad for the guy who lost 13-2 to him, 2 years before
Yeah.
that. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, and he was wrestling. He was facing a different wrestler at that moment.
Different person. Yeah.
I'm listening to you tell it, and I can feel like it still gives you a little bit of a fire. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that loss still, like 13-2. It's just like you wish you could go beat him again.
Yeah. I mean, the winning is good, but like, you always remember the losses, right?
Yeah.
And that changed you. It changed me as a person. If you utilize, it's all what happens to you. It's how you respond to it, right?
Right.
people respond to things. Some people are victims, and some people are just like, okay,
That's true.
we'll see what happens. They'll see. So when I have things that happen to me in my life that are challenging or maybe not fair, as we would say, I say, okay, how am I going to attack this, and how am I going to become? I'm going to come out swinging.
Yeah.
So right now I'm coming out swinging. How we come out swinging, and
Mm-hmm.
and that means you have to be smarter too, though. It can't just be a wild swing, right?
Right.
We want to be smarter and tactful in your life and
Yeah.
everything.
That's super important because, I mean, especially for people who are like extreme winners and like you want to win, normally we don't change unless we experience like extreme pain of some sort.
Yeah.
And losing is extremely
In
painful.
all walks of life,
Yeah.
winning and losing is what does that mean? It doesn't have to just be
It
sport,
doesn't
right?
just have to be sport.
Yeah, it's life, and how do you handle what's important to you, and don't
Yeah.
lose that. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people lose that. I think,
Yeah,
you know,
100%. So, I mean, and we were talking a little bit before. So, like, I mean, I got divorced. I separated from my ex-wife 6 years ago. It's been about 4 years ago we were divorced. We were high school sweethearts. So, for me, at that time in my life, it was very important for me to like maintain that for whatever idealistic thing. We were together for so long as high school sweetheart. Like, this is the mother of my two kids. I fought very hard to like to keep that, even though
right,
it was a losing battle. It wasn't
right,
meant to be. In hindsight, it was probably the best thing to happen. But in the moment, like there was extreme pain through that transition.
without a doubt,
Extreme growth happened right there.
right.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't just have to be sport. You can be that. It can be, and I can even take that. So I don't do pity parties, and like when bad things happen, most of the time people don't know about it.
Right.
So
That's
like
right.
2 weeks before my last or it was actually probably like a week before my last professional fight, I got fired from my last job. Like I was there for 5.5 years. I was like, man, I'm killing it.
Yeah.
Through just things outside of my circumstances, they let me go.
It's life.
It's life. You know what I mean? Like, so from there, like, it was extreme growth, extreme learning, and then it's like, all right, now what's next? Like, now this is a new life. Let's attack that and let's figure it out.
For sure.
You know what I
For
mean? Like, you
sure.
can't just sit there and just be a victim. It won't work.
But when you do that, greater things happen to you. Every
100%.
move I've ever made always got better,
Yes.
right? And I think it's how I responded to it and how my family responded to it, right?
Yeah. So are you a believer like in or are you familiar too much with like the law of attraction? So like I'm a big believer in like just living through intention, and it's kind of what we're talking about. So like I really believe like the energy that you put out is the energy that you receive. You know
1,000%.
what I mean? So it's like you're thinking positively. You're talking about consistency. You're living positively. You're taking those steps. Positive things are going to happen to you. Things that you weren't intending are going to come into your life as
Right.
a result.
Right.
I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, I think sometimes for me, it takes me a minute. I'm never, I'm a fighter like you, but I think also sometimes I close off if something happens to me so I can figure it out, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not no pity party. Just I think that I have to withdraw inside myself and come out swinging. Like I have to plan, and I'm a
Right.
planner.
Right.
So I when things happen, people take it wrong. I'm cutting things off so I can figure out my next move and how I'm going to attack this.
Right.
So it takes me a minute to do that, and then I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But some people, some of my friends and stuff, they're like, man, you didn't talk to me.
Super withdrawn.
You haven't, yeah. Well, it's just
Like,
my.
I just need a second, man.
I'm coming. I got to figure this out, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if you do this, but I think about I obsess in my head, and I just think about it. So sometimes it's just good to take that moment to just take a
Right.
step back
Yeah,
and
yeah,
think
yeah.
about it. So you mentioned visualization earlier. Is that something you've been doing for a long time? Or
always.
can you talk about the importance of that?
It's huge. It's everything. I visualized the whole match. I would go through in the wrestling room at like 11 o'clock at night, and I would just turn on the music, and I would just wrestle. I'd wrestle Roselli. I'd wrestle Aiken. I went through the worst scenario of what I could do,
Yeah.
and I won. And then I tech fouled him one time. The next time it was down. I was down by one. He shot in. I would sprawl. I would just in my mind go through the whole match, and I had to do all three of those guys. Aiken, Roselli, and Zappel, because those three guys were the top three guys, and I had to beat them every time in a different scenario, right?
Okay.
And every time I ran a sprint, I would, or if I was running the stadium, snaking the stadium, I'd wrestle one of them in the match, and then I'd go to the next one, and I couldn't, and I'm weird, and I had to end the same time I ended the stadium run,
Okay.
so I got to do everything 5 times because I'm weird, and so
Five's the number.
five's the number. Reason why is it usually takes 5 matches to win the title.
Okay,
And anything you do, it's usually 5.
that makes
So
sense.
everything I do, 5 sprints, and then I always do one for grandma and one for God and one for the title.
Okay,
So, and when I lift, if I go and lift, I go one grandma, one for the title, and one for God. And what that is that the last rep of the last set,
uh-huh.
I do that every time on every situation, just because it's in my mind.
Yeah,
Right?
that's like a concrete
Yeah,
law for you.
yeah,
You have
yeah.
to do
I have
that.
to do it, and that's it. And then one of the things I've never shared, but usually, one position at a time. This is what I always say to myself before every match: one position at a time, one attack at a time, one point at a time, one match at a time, one title at a time. That's all. One position, one attack, one point,
Yeah,
one match, one title.
focusing on
Yep.
that one
And
thing.
there's 5. See,
Always
so,
5.
always 5.
That's
So,
funny.
so I
Yeah,
mean,
you said you got your 5 best
yeah,
friends.
yeah. I'm just, and I think it's just because, it's subconsciously
Hmm.
ingrained. But also, what I think, and people say that's superstitious, and it might be a little bit. But I also think it's consistent, right?
It
I'm
is.
consistent in things I do, and
Hmm.
and I think that those things,
Yeah.
it's structure.
It's worked. It's worked. It's weird. It's maybe a little unrelated, but so there's a world famous strength coach, Pavel Tatsulin.
Hmm.
He's like credited with like bringing the kettlebell to America. One of his strength principles is greasing the groove, and he talks about essentially with strength training never doing more than 5 reps, because if you're doing any more than 5 reps, you're training something other than strength. So it's just like do 5. You should never be like breathing hard. You shouldn't be sweaty, and then like you take a long rest period, and then you do it again. So the principle of greasing the groove would be like, you do 5 push-ups, maybe 20 minutes later, do another 5 push-ups. Do that throughout the day,
Yeah,
and it's just slowly building strength. But
smart.
it's that principle of
I like
5.
that. I like that. That's good stuff.
Yeah,
I didn't
man.
know that.
Yeah, man. So there's science to this too.
Yeah.
So maybe you just didn't even know it, but you,
No.
you struck gold a long time ago, man.
Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. So yeah, visualization is so huge. I don't know if it's in every sport, but I think it's probably a really big part of wrestling. I know my wrestling coach in high school, he introduced it to us and my team. He made us visualize after some of the hardest practices ever. He's like, all right, now like he would like have us like lay down on the mat, and like we were like decompressing at that time, and then like he would take us through like a
Yeah.
6 minute match. He's like, all right, he's like, pick that person. He's like, all right, now you're in state. Like he's like, or like whatever it is for you, like that pinnacle for
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And like he would take us through a 6 minute match, and then we went to overtime. And
Well, what really helped me too is that Townsend Saunders was a silver medalist in the Olympics and from Arizona State, and I remember we were on a trip in back what I was in 90. He had just taken the silver in the Olympics in '96, and we were on a trip. I think maybe '97, '98. And we were talking, and I was like, "What? So what changed?" Because he made it, finally made the team, and he was just like, and it just took the pinnacle for him.
yeah,
And he goes, I read this book, and Achievement Zone, and I'm like, okay. And so I went and I bought the book and I read it, and there's it's a well written book, but a lot of it has inserts from other athletes. And one of the inserts that always stuck with me was, and I can't recall who it was or what it was, but it basically was that the guy had ran into he won the gold medal in the Olympics and Worlds, and he always beat this other guy, and the shot put.
okay,
And he said to him, he said, the years later they met up, and the guy goes, "How'd you always beat me?" He goes, "I always saw myself on the stand. I always saw myself, getting a medal wrapped around my neck." And he goes, "I never thought about that." He goes, I always thought." He goes, "How'd you beat me all those years?" He goes, "I always thought about it. It was the worst day. You had just threw world Olympic title, the furthest it's ever been thrown, shot put." And he goes, and the wind was blowing, and it was raining, and my hand couldn't barely hold the shot put, and I had struck, I messed up, faulted on the first 2, and on the last one, I had to hold it, and I had to swing, and I threw it further than I ever have, and I beat you. So his visualization was put himself in the worst circumstance,
yeah,
and that's how he beat that guy every time. And the other guy's visualization was seeing the forward. He's seen the after effect, not the process.
right,
And I think that that's where we get lost. I think people worry about the end result. I worry about the being in the moment. I call it living in the moment.
yeah,
And if you live in the moment, great things happen.
yes,
You have to have a overall plan, right? Of course, but you have to live in that moment. If you're thinking about the end results,
hmm
it's like young wrestlers. They think about the the takedown, the high seeker. I'm thinking about how's he getting to that? How's that working?
Yeah,
Right?
like what angle is he
Yeah,
cutting
yeah,
or
yeah,
what
yeah.
step is he taking?
Right,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you really have to do fall in love with the process
right.
because without the process, I mean, there is no end result.
And we're not guaranteed anything. That's what's beauty about it. You're not guaranteed to win.
That's true.
Nobody promised you anything. It's the process that once you learn the process, yeah, are you going to be heartbroken? Yeah, I mean, I won the world title. I took second in the Olympics, but but the process of all that was unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, you've won at the highest level. Uh, well, let me ask you this: what are your thoughts? Because I mean, you just said it, so you took second at the Olympics, but you won Worlds,
and I
and
took bronze. Yeah.
and arguably Worlds is tougher than the Olympics.
Well, yeah, Olympics are Olympics though. It's special,
Yeah,
and there's something about the Olympic Games because it's every 4 years
yeah,
that makes it, and it's just, and all the teams are together, all the sports are together, and it's a united thing. So there's such a special, and on that day you have to be, perfect. And same with the worlds, but the worlds, there's more countries
yeah.
represented.
Right.
So that's why it's,
That's kind of
that's
why.
why it's tougher. Yeah.
Right, right. But I mean, I guess there is something to that. Every 4 years that you only
Yeah,
get to compete. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
you got, and I mean, tougher or not. I think there's more competition in the worlds. The Olympics, it's Olympics,
It's
man.
the
It's
Olympics.
the Olympics.
Yeah. What was that experience like?
It was awesome till the end. I was like, I always
Fair
say,
enough.
people ask me a lot. I'm like, my wife enjoyed it. She got the, it was Sydney, man. She
Right.
went to, I mean,
Beautiful
my
Australia.
dad, Chuck. They both, my brother was like, hey, I'm going on a walkabout. He's funny,
Uh-huh.
having the same guy from St. Charles. He's
St.
little,
Charles American
yeah,
man.
yeah. That
Just
dude was like going. I go, where you going? He goes, I'm going on a walkabout. I'm like, man, whatever, dude.
they could get
And
lost.
yeah, it's like whatever, man. No, but they enjoyed it, and that was for me. It was always about my dad and getting him to the respect he deserved, and also and making him proud of me. And
Yeah.
that was a big part of my life. I wanted him to be, and my mom to feel something that they hadn't been able to do themselves.
Yeah.
And because my mom was an athlete and she was married young and just, and so she didn't. I don't think she got to do what she could have done or would have done, and so it's nice. I get a lot of my athletic ability from her, and I think I get my mentality from my father. So, it's kind of a combination of the two.
Yeah. Always trying to make them proud. So were you really ever able to fully enjoy? I mean, you've been all over the world, but a lot of it's with competition.
Right?
You know what I mean? And when you're in competition, like it's work mode.
Yeah.
Like, were you ever able to really enjoy too much of these places that you get to go to, or do you ever take some time to maybe like a day after the competition, or is it back on to
No.
another flight somewhere
No.
else?
Yeah. I didn't appreciate it. Like, I didn't. My dad always told me I should, but I just didn't. It was always because I was so driven. I think that a lot of that.
It's like a
But
blessing and a
yeah,
curse.
yeah. But when I was in 2006, I was 35 years old, 30, and so I got to wrestle. I made a comeback,
Yeah.
and I made the world team. And I remember I was like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process. I remember going on trips with Daniel Cormier and Mo Lual and all these dudes, and seeing and just they're all. I was an old dude, and they're like, "What's up, Pop?" Like they were making fun of me. I'm like, "Whatever, man."
Say, listen,
Yeah, yeah.
come on, I'll put you on your
Yeah,
head
yeah.
still.
Those dudes are they were supportive though. They it made me feel good that that I'm pretty old. Especially at my weight class. That's unheard of, right? And it was nice to I remember me and the world champs blind draw. And so me and the Cuban are only world champs at the time. We
Okay.
wrestled first round.
Oh wow.
And I always got draws like that, which I call I'm the bad draw, right? But so, I mean, I ended up beating him, and it was a tough fought battle. But I remember putting my shoes on, and I was like looking around, like I finally enjoyed it. And so I always say I got to wrestle long enough to be 8 years old again. And I got to be
Yeah.
the 8-year-old Sammie.
Right.
Who, like, I was like looking around. I was like, I'm getting chills now thinking about it because it was like, I never did. When I was at all these other times, I was so caught up in winning and
Right.
all all that and the results and all.
Mhm.
And this one, I was like, man, I'm 35 years old at the World Championship, man. And
Yeah.
I ended up taking, I lost in the semis, but I ended up taking a bronze.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there across from Lou Roselli, one of my competitors I talked about earlier,
Hmm.
and he was like, we were having a beer, and he's like, I go, I'm done. He goes, what? I go, I'm done. I go, I got 4 kids. I gotta start. I gotta go home. He goes, you gotta go to 2008. And I'm like, I'm good, man.
Yeah.
He goes, well, you can't. I go, you're retired. I go, I'm done. I go, I enjoyed. It was
Yeah.
awesome, and I just knew, and I was like, I did it.
Yeah.
I can't make a comeback. I got to do something I didn't think. Who knew it possible?
Dude.
And then come home and start a life. So it was cool. It was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, man, I can only imagine just kind of what that feeling would be like, just to finally make peace with
Yeah.
with everything that you've done and but to finally actually be able to enjoy it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Enjoy it. That's
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, was that kind of that time, you mentioned DC, was that kind of your transition into like coaching MMA? Because I know like you coached Chuck Liddell wrestling, or
Yeah.
did you do that prior?
I didn't do any. DC and those guys. I mentioned him because people know him, but
Yeah,
I
and it
mean,
just made me think of
yeah,
it.
he wasn't even. I mean, him and Mo used to mess around and practice,
But
but
they weren't even
no,
on the
there
radio
wasn't
at that
even.
time.
They weren't even. It was not even. They're just So that has no
Okay,
connection to
so
it.
how did you get into it then?
Well, I moved to. I went from coaching in Nebraska to Cal Poly,
Oh, okay.
and I was coaching. I took the coaching job there and ran into Chuck, and I said, I
Oh,
think I can train you. And then me and him had a talk, and he agreed, and I started doing that. And then I coached Chad Mendez in college. So
oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I
so
think I read that.
yeah, and Boris
Because
Novichkov, who's going to
you
start
coach
fighting.
so many people
Yeah,
all over the
yeah.
world, man. Have you found more enjoyment in coaching compared to competing, or what's been the difference for you with that transition into
Well,
coaching?
I love. I'm a coach. I think because I give more than you take, right?
Yeah.
I love to see someone when they run up on the stadium and they, Paul Donahoe, these guys run up and they win, or Zeke Moise, who made the finals of the NCAA tournament for me in West Virginia. To see them and know the feeling that they're feeling,
Yeah.
there's nothing better than that,
It's
man.
an
It's
amazing
that sexy,
feeling.
man. It's just a feeling that you can't, and I know it, and I know what they feel. So it makes me that be able to help assist them in feeling that.
Yeah.
There's no better gift.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you've reached those levels. You've felt that feeling, and you know what it takes to get there. So to be able to help somebody else,
It's way better than wrestling myself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was that an easy transition for you to? I mean, because there mentally it's a different
Yeah,
mindset.
for
You know what I
sure.
mean?
It's not about you anymore,
It,
right?
it one
Right.
exactly. So you
Right.
got to start putting everything into somebody else.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you can't do that before you're ready.
No.
You know
No.
what I mean?
No. It's a good selfishness. I say when you're an athlete, you have to be selfish, but there's a good selfish and there's a bad selfish.
Yes.
Some people are selfish to a point where they do not help others. Me, I felt like I would I always like to coach anyway. So if I wrestled you, I wouldn't tell you during practice what I was doing to you, but then afterwards I say, hey, here's how I'm beating you.
Yeah.
Because one, I would get back, right. Number two, I was if they fixed that, it made them better, which sharpened me.
Right.
So I had to find another way to beat them, right.
Hmm.
But yeah, so there's a good selfish, but you have to be selfish as an athlete to a point. It's a
Right.
team sport, and eventually it's in every sport it's team unity
Yeah.
but you have to be true to yourself, and you have to be a little bit selfish. I mean, that's bottom line. And so,
Yeah, and that's just a fact of life. To be
yeah,
honest with you, sports are just a good metaphor for life in so many ways, and sport just it directly transfers to life in so many just the lessons that you take away and the skills that you develop. Because in life, I mean, if you're trying to give and you don't have to give, like. You can't do that. Like, you have to take care of you first. You know what I
right,
mean? Like, if you're broke, you can't give any money away. Like,
right,
if
right,
you're not healthy, if you don't take care of your body and your mind, you can't be the best for your family, for your, whoever you're responsible for,
right,
who you're
for
trying to
sure.
help. You know what I mean? So you have to
If
be
you
a
don't
little
love
selfish.
yourself, you can't love anyone else. Right?
100%.
Yeah,
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
So, when you're running these teams and like you're coaching these young men, I mean, obviously mindset is a big part of that. How do you like to coach people on mindset? Because I mean, we've been talking about it. Obviously, it's a big piece to your success. How do you teach that to people, or can you teach that to people?
Well, it's everyone's different, right?
Right.
And so you have to learn how to, as a coach, you have to adapt to that. And that's a huge part. I always tell my athletes, I treat everyone different. And if you got a problem with that, then you're in the wrong place. Because if I have a guy who's a supreme athlete and I got a guy who can't walk and chew gum, but he needs to work ethic is different, right?
Yeah.
And the level. There's a common bond as a team, right? You
Mm-hmm.
do, but the individual work is a little different. And so I believe this wholeheartedly. Your confidence in your confidence in your training and your structure and your coach and what he believes in. I've always been able to get people to believe in themselves more than they believe. I always believed in them more than they believe in themselves, which I think gives them, gives them. And I believe in what I'm doing. People know if you know what you're doing, and so and the confidence, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not bragging. I know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and so I believe that at least. And so if you feel that from me, you'll believe in what I'm preaching. So getting you to buy into what I'm preaching has always been a gift of mine. And I also think it's just because I have a plan for you. Each person I'll bring in and I'll have a plan for you, and I'll talk to you directly and tell you. I can't sell something if I don't believe in it myself, right?
Right.
Yeah. So to your point, I think that your mentality comes from your training. It comes from your belief in who's training you. And if you didn't train, you didn't run sprints, and you didn't do the right things, or if you did those things and you don't believe the person you do, even if your coach is wrong,
Yeah.
if you believe in him, you're gonna win. Think about that. If you have a coach, he's not just, but you believe in him, and he can get you to believe in him, you're gonna win.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. I've seen it happen. Like, and not all the time, but over. I mean, I've seen people like, I'm like, man, how's that dude? He believes. He
Belief will
believes.
go a long
Yeah,
way.
belief is all it is. And having faith in things you can't see. That's why I used to tell my guys, have faith in you can't. I go, you can't see. I have a relationship with whatever, but God, but I have faith in what I can't see.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have faith. And so have faith in what I'm preaching to you, because I've been there. And that's one of the things I use a lot, because I'm like, I know what I'm doing, and I know
Yeah.
how to process it and get it to you. But everyone, and I think that also the big thing is telling them, and truthfully, you're not the same as me. So as a group, we're gonna train together. When we do our individuals, I'm gonna train you differently.
Yeah, that's so important. There's a lot of coaches who will try to like make you into them,
Right.
or make you into what they think you should be, as opposed to like let me assess you where you're
That's
at,
right.
and then let me make you what you can be. You know
Right.
what I mean?
I always tell him, like Zeke Moisey, he's not me, right? But I go, just let me help you add to your game. So I go, I know you want to hit your roll, and I know you want to do, he's different, right?
Hmm.
But just try a little bit of this mainline defense and do this. And then we're going to, as they build and they have to work, then we go and do your stuff. So a little bit of me, a little bit of you, and we're going to fix this thing,
Yeah.
and it's good. It's cool,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely, 100%, man. Man, that's so cool. I'm just processing that. I had another question for you, man. I blanked out. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
This is a great conversation.
Yeah.
Um,
Enjoyed it.
oh, Bull Train. I wanted to talk to you about that. What is Bull Train? Where'd that come from?
Well, Mark Manning, when I was training for the Worlds and Olympics, he's a Nebraska coach, but he was in Northern Iowa and Oklahoma. We lived together in Oklahoma, and when I was training, he just started calling me the Bull.
Okay.
Hey, Bull, and because of the way I wrestle, and I'm on attack and just snap, just constant pressure, just relentless,
Mm-hmm.
and so everybody started calling me a Bull, and what's funny is my grandpa. This is a good story you'll like, and nobody knows this, but my great grandpa was Amos, and he's from Oklahoma. And what they used to do back in the day, I guess in these saloons, he was like 6 foot. My dad married, my grandpa married somebody really short. My dad married somebody really short, and then you got me.
Okay.
So, but
Strong as a
yeah,
bull.
yeah, yeah. But they used to put like nooses around their neck, and they would be in the bar, and they would headbutt each other till somebody
Oh
passed
shit.
out. And he, I guess, evidently was, no, straight up, this is a true story. He evidently always won.
Really?
He had and his nickname was the Bull, and I didn't know that until
Yeah.
years later. My dad was telling me the story. I'm like, holy smokes! So
It
it was
all
kind of
makes
fun.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bull Train is just, it's my brand. It's my brand.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's super cool. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's your style.
Yeah.
And you partner with Adidas for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
really cool, man. And then is that so you run the kids club as well?
Well, I'm not right
Is
now.
that part of that?
Right now, I'm doing a little bit. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm doing a little bit here and
I don't
there.
want to misspeak.
No, yeah. Well, I'm just not. I don't know what direction I'm headed yet, but
Okay.
in between a little bit. I'm doing Shamrock commentating.
Yeah, you're doing that now.
And I'm excited about. I'm really excited about. I think it's going to be a learning experience. I'm not going to be the best at first, but I'm working. That's what I'm striving to be.
Yeah.
And so I'm really.
Is that a part of it to know that you're not going to be the best at first, and it's a new challenge to become the best?
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
I know people are going to make fun of me. Go ahead, but I'll learn. I'll learn and I'll get better, and it'll be a process. But Shamrock is a great organization.
Yeah.
And it fits what I'm trying to do. I think I want to do more of management and managing fighters, getting fighters. Being a part of the whole spectrum of the MMA world, and
Yeah.
so I thought about doing that a long time ago, and I never did. So I'm doing the club thing. It's not it's invite only
Yeah.
because I'm not trying to do what these other guys are doing right now, but I'm doing something in Jeff City for a group up there,
Okay.
and then I'm doing a group in St. Charles. You saw the small. I keep it small because I want people that are committed. And these young kids are
100%.
committed.
Yeah.
And so it's become a kind of a thing where they just they call me and I make them sign up with their partner, so it's not a one-on thing. And
Right.
it's almost an invite only. I have to talk to them and
Yeah.
kind of interview
Well,
them.
it's high level training.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And so it's actually grown into something, and I think it might be a great avenue with my whole vision, which
Okay.
is training fighters.
Yeah, yeah, I can see all that. I think I was thinking that because, well, obviously I've seen you working with the kids, but I know you posted a picture with a mutual friend, Zach Freeman,
Oh yeah,
who I think he maybe you had a kids club program back in the
yeah,
day, and he
yeah.
was in
It's
that.
part of it. Yep.
Yeah, so I just assumed like, oh, okay, maybe that's just still going. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Kind of like like Perler's still
Yeah,
going. You know what I mean?
yeah. I don't, and that's the thing. He does that, and I want to have the whole thing from the after you graduate. If you train MMA or if you want to train for the Olympics or whatever, we want to have it. Or if you go away to college, you come back, you train with us.
Right.
So, and that's something that eventually it's just a factory. Right?
Yeah.
Of just great
Just breeding
humans.
greatness.
Yeah.
100%, man. So yeah, that's going to be exciting with Shamrock. When does that start?
January 12th.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I just sat down with Jesse Finney yesterday.
Good guy, man.
Yeah, I really like Jesse, man, and it's a shame because you talk to people and people always whisper and maybe they've had like maybe bad experiences, but at the end of the day, Jesse's an extreme winner, and
He's a winner.
and that rubs people the wrong way is what I found. You know what I mean? When you're winning,
Yeah.
and especially actually, let me ask you about this because I have found in the Midwest. And maybe it's just my perspective, but I found like in a very conservative area, there's a lot of scarcity mindset, meaning people often view like your success as their loss, and they don't like winners, extreme winners. You know what I mean? They can be can be interpreted or can rub people the wrong way for some reason. Have you experienced that? I mean, you've been all over the world. I mean, you've been all different people.
Yeah.
Have you seen that in some areas more than others?
Yeah, I haven't been here in 20 years, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying, and I think that I always said this in California. I remember living in California and thinking, man, I would go in and talk to people about a vision, like I wanted to run Central Coast Duels, right? So have the Big 12 against the Big 12 and Pac-12, and then start this event. And I call it Central Coast Duels, and you get the high schools involved and get sponsorship. We had it at the Madonna Inn, da-da-da. I'd go in and talk to them. They said, yeah, how do we let's do it. I don't know. It might not be able to. Let's figure out how we can do it, right? It was never like, oh, we can't do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like some places
Yeah.
are like, oh, that'll never work.
Yeah.
Or where I'm like, I don't know, but let's figure that out.
Figure it
Let's
out.
figure.
Yeah.
Let's use that concept and let's
Right.
move forward.
Yeah.
And so I think it's your minds, right?
Yeah, I don't know if maybe it's just like an average mindset.
I agree.
I don't know what it is.
But you're right. And it might be like Jesse's mind is like
He's a
a visionary.
And we were talking about it
Yeah,
yesterday,
yeah.
and like I've only dealt with him in the sense of like I'm a fighter,
Yeah.
you're the promoter, like but this is business. Like I'm signing a contract, we're doing contract negotiations,
And that's where people get. You can't miss. I mean, it's business.
It is. So I've had nothing but good experiences with him. He's treated me well. He's put me in several positions to have good fights to make it to the next level. He put me on Bellator.
Right.
Like, he's helped me out a lot. I've had nothing but good experience with him. But like some people, and I was just we were talking about it yesterday, and I just wonder if it's just,
What'd he say?
huh?
What'd he say?
Well, Jesse always says the same thing. Is just base your experience. Like, it's always those things are like people only hear those things.
Right.
But it's like based off your own
Right.
experience
with him.
with
Yep.
him, and that's all I've ever done.
Have you ever seen Moneyball?
Yes.
Baseball.
Yes.
You remember when the guy was like, "You're going to handle this guy. He's going to be transferred, right?" Well, what do I say to him to just hand him the ticket and say, he's a man.
Yeah.
That's business.
That's it.
At the end of the day, just tell me the truth. Okay, I'm moving to a different city. Okay, because that's the nature of the business, right?
Right.
And the nature of the business is getting people in the stands.
Right.
And
It's just a
get,
business.
and getting fighters that can get people in the stands.
Yeah.
Right? Because if we don't have anybody in the stands, how are we gonna promote it?
100%.
So
Yeah, I mean, he runs a fantastic business.
Yeah.
I think he treats people well. I think Shamrock is an amazing promotion. They're lucky to have you commenting, dude. Like, have you ever been to one of their shows?
I have not.
Dude, you're gonna love it.
I'm excited.
You're gonna love it, dude. They have just a top-notch production, dude. Like, you're going in there. They're usually more intimate settings because they're in the casinos. It's all nice lights. It's a nice cage.
Yeah.
It's not like super crowded. It's really well done. They're well managed. You're usually in and out of there by 3 hours.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? They have the big screens and things playing up there. It's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And like as a fighter, it's super cool because like beforehand they're always like you're doing all these interviews, they're scheduling all these interviews for you, and then like I was the main event a couple of times, so it's like and you have like this extra like promo that you have to do and come and do it. So it's
Yeah, you
like
feel like a star.
dude,
Like you should.
They should.
Yep.
They treat you right, and it's an awesome promotion.
Yeah.
I fought in Kansas City. They give you all these like food vouchers. I got like $300 worth of food. I can't even eat all this.
That's awesome.
So yeah, man, it's cool, man. It's awesome that they have you a part of the team for sure. So you have that. You're probably gonna be transitioning into like possibly managing
Yeah.
MMA and stuff. So a lot of big things ahead, man.
Yeah, and I do my camps all over the country. I usually do a lot of time in California because it's nice.
Yeah, I don't blame
I
you.
like I still have ties there, so it just I love what I'm doing right now. I
Yeah.
just figuring out the pieces of how I want to work it together.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Well, dude, we've been going about 45 minutes, close to an hour now. I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got some
Appreciate
other
it.
things going on today,
yeah.
so I really appreciate you doing this. I want to leave the floor to you. If there's like any sponsorships or like anything like you wanted to promo or promote, how can people get a hold of you? Anything you want to send them to? The floor is yours, man.
Yeah, bulltrain.com. And, you guys go there. A lot of things are going to be changed on my website, and love to see more people come to it. Like I said, management, trying to get people conditioning, strength and conditioning. I'm really into that. So I would love to, especially for fighters, and that's one of the things I think I help with Chuck, and I've been known for my whole life is that part of the cardio part, especially for fighters too. I was talking to my son the other day. One of the things that's missing, I think, is one of the things that wrestling brings to us is the conditioning base of it. But what's missing for fighters, I have something for you. So hopefully you guys will come and get trained by me a little bit and see if you like it.
Absolutely. All right, man. Hey, I really appreciate it. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sammie.
Appreciate it.